Hey, I think we made it. Oh
Hey guys,
my.
welcome to this show.
To this one. This is
Have you
this
seen it
show.
before?
It's the this one.
It's the this show, not an acronym. It's literally just the this show.
The this. Welcome to the
We were
this.
gonna be, it was gonna be and the this show, but and doesn't start with the letter T, so we cut it out. Um, we even possibly went for the and this show, but obviously that's not
That
even
makes
proper
no
English
sense
at that point.
whatsoever. None.
Yeah, the this
None.
show is way more
The
English.
this show. The this one.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Definitely. That's what we settled on.
As
Welcome.
opposed to the that one.
Right. Or that Thursday
The
show.
other. Yeah.
Hmm. So welcome to Don't Worry Wednesday, the show where we talk about whatever is on your mind, whatever you're going through in life, different aspects. Sometimes we just talk about whatever, but most of the time we talk about you guys. Um, last time we had to talk a little bit about whatever because, well, we didn't have enough topics, enough people that had topics with us.
Mhm.
So if you guys feel like you have anything on your mind you want to talk about, maybe something you're worried about, something maybe just happened recently, maybe COVID-19's gotten to you, dealing all this time, spending all this time with people that you don't normally spend a whole lot of time with, like your family, things can get a little bit wily. So, we're here to comfort you, here to share some perspective. We are not by any means professional psychologists or anything in that degree, but we have lived lives in our own and failed plenty of times to figure out, hey, this is what not to do, and maybe try this. So we can give some advice, some friendly advice. We're here to basically just mostly encourage you because a lot of times you guys know what to do or you can figure it out on your own, but we get that mental block until we put it out for other people to hear or for us to hear ourselves talk. Sometimes we get kind of like mentally blocked and mentally stuck on something. So we're here to just basically open the doors for you and help you figure it out. Um, so yeah, we are really glad to be here with you guys. Don't Worry Wednesday is one of our favorite shows. We love every time that we get to do these. But yeah, it's a blessing to be around all of you guys in the chat here. We love you guys. So yeah, with us today we've got Jesse, who's the guy that runs the scene, and if he wants to shut us down, he'll shut us down, right?
Yep.
So
And he was this close to revoking my mod status.
Mm-hmm.
This
Yeah.
close. He almost
Yep.
was like he almost took my wrench away. I was gonna be like,
yeah, he's that sure throws a wrench in things,
man, I
and
got
then you can or it just takes it right out. And then we also have with us our hostess, which is Princess Yellow. She will be reading off some of the chat for us, but she'll also be in the chat room with you guys. She's behind the scenes setting up the order of the topics and things like that for us as well. So it's really convenient to have her helping out like a ton. And then, of course, we have the star of the show, CDVNL, just below me here, who is going to make this show worth your while.
Whoa.
Without him,
Let's not get carried away.
Hey. Yeah, let's not. Let's have Joe with us so we don't get carried away by our inner darkness. So, yeah, how you doing, Joe?
I'm great, man. How are you?
Doing fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, we just had a great BSS conference call. That's why we're a little bit late. We had some final decisions to make on some of the Kickstarter stuff, but it's really coming together nicely. We'll be placing the actual order for the book now, like tomorrow, if not tonight. I guess I don't know. We're ready though. We got the hard copy proof.
Yep.
And are able to look at it and see how awesome it looks. They did a great job with the printing.
Yeah, they actually did. They really did.
It looks beautiful.
It's going to be incredible. The thickness of the page, it's real, like real thick. It's really nice. which
They
makes it
got
just
real
feel all the
pages.
more. Yeah, and it's real material, like it's real matter. It's not just energy. It's
Yeah.
not digital. It's like physical. It's weird.
Yeah.
Never experienced that before in my life.
Yeah.
So it's cool.
It's pretty. I've never experienced it before either.
Yeah,
Anything real.
I've never experienced reality like that before. It was so real. It almost made me second guess everything else. So yeah, it was
Uh,
actually a good meeting though. We got a lot done.
John wonders what happens to the proof now.
We
It's
aren't sure.
decided.
We might keep it. We might give it away. We might sell it on eBay for $7,000 or something. We'll see what happens. But yeah, we're looking over it and it looks awesome. So I think we're gonna give them the go ahead on the rest of the book, and it'll be on its way.
Yes, yes. The process will have officially the printing pressing process will begin.
That's right.
Fantastic.
Great.
And then it's got to spend a whole bunch of time on a boat on its way here from China. So
Yeah,
it's gonna be cool.
yeah. And then I have to take it into my car, drive it into Canada. So it's gonna go from China. It's gonna go to United States of America, and then it's gonna go in my car, and then I'm gonna drive it up to Canada,
Canada,
get some
eh?
signatures, right, from Rainey, drive it back to America, and then ship it out to wherever you guys are in your world. Whoever bought the world, what the book? I mean, whoever bought the book, whoever bought the world. That's the wrong word.
Whoever bought the world.
Whoever bought the world, smart person.
You bought a whole bunch of problems though.
Yeah, really.
Because the world's full of them, that's for
Mhm.
sure. But that was super exciting. We got to do that. We've made some final decisions on the USB design. Ryan did a bang up job on the artwork for the CD and the CD jacket and everything, and that's all been finalized now. It's just an exciting time. I'm just super excited for the whole thing. So
Yeah. Bang up makes it sound like it's bad, but it's
bang
really
up
good.
means good. It means awesomeness.
Yeah, no, it's just one of those phrases. It's like you did a bang up job. It's like, so it's got like you banged it and it's got a bunch of dents in it and banged it up.
Yeah.
Nope.
Ah! I did that and something changed on my computer.
What? That's weird.
Don't shake your fist at your computer. Your computer
Tempted.
will get offended.
Yeah, nothing happened. Good.
Didn't work. Whew. All right.
All right, good.
All right.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for being here. Let's hop into the show, yeah?
Yeah.
How are you guys doing in the chat, by the way? It's nice to see you all. I see a couple of people, see some people saying a lot of things, and I see a lot of people saying some things. That's how it is in chat.
That's how it is.
It's just how it is in real life. Oh my gosh, it's so real.
You see some people saying a lot of things and a lot of people saying some things.
Guys, reality is so real. It's frightening. All right. It's like, are you okay? No, it's too real. Reality. I'm realizing it. Okay. So we've got topics. I'm gonna go ahead and read down the list.
Are you
if you are
realizing
here,
that reality is real?
Yeah, if you are here, drop a real realization of reality right in the chat.
Really?
To,
Really?
Yeah, really, just
really do
rightly
it.
so. Write it in.
Really? Really?
All right. Sumner Kagan, John Doe, Man Left Behind, Eric Bodine, Caffrey, Mark Anthony, Akil, Sparrow. That's who we've got. So you see that list is actually really small. Remember, we would read it off and it would take like a month.
Yeah. A month every day.
Every day. It was like a whole month in a few minutes or less. Well, so the short is a lot smaller now. That's because we've been doing these 3 times a week, which is awesome. It's fantastic. But yeah, it's kind of we need you guys to have some problems. So I'm just kidding. But yeah, it's actually really, really awesome that we got the opportunity to solve or at least help out, hopefully in some way, discuss with you guys all of the different things. So it's been really cool that we've gotten that opportunity a lot lately. But
Mhm.
yep, we are getting a little low. So, yeah, it looks like in the chat we've got Akil, right?
I've
Do we?
seen him. I
Actually,
saw him in there.
Akil didn't post anything. He didn't post any real realities. But I know they're in here. Their last comment was wasn't too long ago. So we're gonna do Akil. Akil, we've got 3 from you.
Yes.
Which would you like? We've got walking away, fast friendship, and profusely unsettled. Which one do you think is better to address first? Which one do you think is more perhaps urgent or at least more important? I'm
Akil's asleep.
asleep. Are you sleep typing? That's incredible. I don't know how you do that. I don't think I've ever sleep typed. Can you wake up for us? All right. Is Sparrow here? Sparrow has a topic, but I don't see them in chat, which is unfortunate because it would be really great to have them. So
wake up, Akil.
Wake up, man.
Hey, Akil. Up and at him.
I think that's helping a lot. Yeah.
For the week.
Get him pumped up. Get your son pumped up.
Yeah.
Let's just go with profusely unsettled. Thank you, Akil. We appreciate you.
Joseph Fitz, and I'm weak.
Oh man.
All right.
Very early, yeah.
There's the link.
I was woken up by the stream. Oh my gosh. Akil, here's the thing. We love you. Thank you so much for joining us on the stream, even though you were already sleeping and you were woken up and you're like, oh, I'm going to tune in. That's awesome, dude. Thank you. We appreciate it. You know,
yeah.
Takes real effort. I know a lot of people who would just be like, no, I'm just going to sleep through it. I'm already sleeping. It's too much effort. Akil, you are a man of great strength. I mean, honestly, it does take a certain degree of physical and mental strength to just wake up from your slumber and go, all right, let's watch this show. Because I want to be here. I want to be here for these guys. I want to be here in general. So honestly, it's awesome. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and do this topic. I hope that you're awake enough for it. If you're not, I apologize. I understand. So let's go for it. So this one's from Akil, of course, and it is titled Profusely Unsettled. Princess will read it for us, which is awesome.
I am the worst. I thought we established that I don't need to do everything, but instead do what I can. But this back of my mind consumed my judgment again. Regurgitated questions, depictions of what I'm supposed to do. I need to be grounded, to have proper reason. Don't be dumbfounded, adapt to the season. I need to collect myself. Yes, maybe visiting Grandma was a great idea. A small family gathering, such merrily catering, yet I didn't feel it was fitting. I kept nodding and helping out, but I felt estranged, left out. I'm just confused. I was glad to be there, but all that felt fleeting. I can't get a word in, can't even express how much joy to see my grandma again, too. I was just there, I guess. The day passed by, and I guess the special day restriction lift was over. Back to home, I guess. The Prime Minister is under quarantine. Almost 200 new cases were detected when we were doing so well, and the case from last week was shown to be something I'm very afraid of: blooming racial tension. I kept crossing my fingers, hoping it was some driver under alcohol influence. It was far better than to realize that he would do it while being in the right mind. I guess peace isn't an option right now. I guess I'll have to wait it out. I guess the driver will be let go with a disabled person pass. I guess I'll go work out and sleep again. I guess I'll pretend to be an idiot online again. From Akil.
Hmm. Thank you for reading that, Princess, and thanks for sharing this, Akil. Yeah, again, we're in unsettling times, but the thing is, no matter what era of the world we're in, it's unsettling. There's always some unsettling situation, right? There's always like if you like start looking into it, you can find things to be unsettled about. Especially when you deal with things like with racism, with people who are just not in the right mind, or they are, but they get away with it and they go off of some like, hey, I don't have the right thinking and that's why I did this, and then they're let go. Things like that happen, and it's just like, that's obviously wrong. um you know and even when we're among friends and family, we can still feel that sense of that unsettling feeling. Like I don't necessarily feel attached. I don't have the words to say. I don't feel like I'm in this moment with them, or that um, I'm really with them. Like I feel that way at times too. Definitely. Where it's just like I'm with family or with friends or whatever, but at the same time, it feels like I'm not really with any of them. I'm just kind of, um, you know, there. And I'm here, I'm helping out, I'm there, I'm smiling, I'm nodding, I'm doing this and that, to help out. But at the same time, it's just like, I'm not fully engaged to where I feel like I'm with them. Um, so I can totally relate to that. Um, and it just feels like, I think you described it well. So yeah. So there's a couple of different things we can talk about here, which is good. But yeah, generally just being unsettled, like that's how it is sometimes. But I'm gonna give it over to Joe, see what he's got to say.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Ryan, and thank you, Akil, for the topic. You're absolutely right, Ryan, when you say everything's a bit unsettling right now. We just recently, I just heard about a recent case in the United States about with some racial tension. Apparently, a guy died, a cop killed him. Um, it, yeah, it was crazy, but everything's high. Everybody's kind of like high tension right now, and the
Yeah.
protests are getting violent. It's getting kind of crazy. So there's all kinds of stuff going on. But and especially with COVID-19, with all that stuff going on as well. I mean, I just got a our state, Michigan, here, we just we extended our stay home order till June 12th. Our bishop here just made the dispensation for Sunday obligations. He extended that until September, and then who knows where we're going to be then. Like, we'll see if schools start back up in the fall. I mean, it's just everything seems to keep getting pushed back more and more and more and more. And I understand people are going crazy. I mean, my mom, she's a wonderful lady. She likes having friends around though. And so like she finds ways to go out and stand on the sidewalk in front of friends of hers houses or whatever, just to go drive up to town and stand outside of a friend's house and talk to them while they stand on their porch or whatever, and just because that person to person interaction is so important. So I mean, personally, I like being quarantined. I like being stuck in my house, because I can interact with all you guys. I'm here every morning on Double Cup of Joe. And there's a group of you guys that are fairly regular on that show. And I get to see you guys and chat with you guys and hang out, and it's a good time. And it's I don't know. It's crazy. Everybody's a little bit different in that regard. But I definitely understand the feeling of being left out, of feeling left out, and even with family, there can be this awkwardness, it's almost like, uh, um, it's weird. I don't know. I don't necessarily know why it is, but, and it's not like I ever feel unwelcome, but just like I don't really fit in, if that makes sense. And so I'm there, I'm with people, and we all love each other. We're all getting along, and it's peaceful, and it's fine, and it's wonderful. But, I always feel like I'm a little bit different than everybody. I don't know if that's a common thing or not. I don't know if that's something that everybody there feels or not, but um it's just kind of how I've always felt, even as a kid, going to reunions and you know and stuff like that. So but yeah, grandmas generally tend to be wonderful. My grandmas, but on both sides of my family, were just wonderful, wonderful ladies, and both of them have passed away now. But I remember growing up, and they were always just so kind and loving. And then when they saw their grandchildren, didn't matter which grandchild it was, they would just light up and be just so happy to see any one of us, you know. And it's like they were so thankful for the time that they had, so thankful for, the fact that, look at these people that this is like new life. This is like people here that I'm connected to. And they were just so happy to have that connection with everyone. And so that's something. I mean, sometimes when I feel left out, I know that it's me. It's in my head. It's me putting up some kind of a barrier. Sometimes it's others. Sometimes it's just there's a disconnect there and I just can't fit in. But I also know sometimes it's all something I'm coming up with in my head. In fact, for most of the time, I've found for a lot of personal relationship type of things, especially dealing with people I don't really know all that well, they're just as scared as I am of having a conversation. I think a lot of times just people feel that way. It's like, I don't know exactly what to say, so I would rather say nothing. And so it kind of, what happens as a result is we feel a little tension, we feel a little bit separated and stuff like that. And what it really is just, it's my insecurities along with their insecurities, and we're exhibiting them. And what's happening is we just are not welcoming an interaction because of our own personal insecurities. And then it feels as though we're left out. It feels as though we're estranged. But in essence, if one of us took the initiative to start a conversation and ask, hey, how are you doing? What's been going on? How's your job, or how's your schooling, or how's whatever going on? Like if one of us broke the ice, so to speak, then the conversation could flourish and it would be wonderful. And so that's what I want to encourage you to do, Akil, in that type of situation where, yeah, it does. You said, I didn't feel like I was fitting in. I kept nodding and helping out, but I feel estranged and left out and confused and stuff like that. But if you can take a moment and sincerely look at someone and just ask them a question about themselves, ask them a question about something in their lives, even as something as simple as, hey, so what are you doing these days? What have you been up to? It can be trite and common and simple and mundane, but that's not what your conversation is going to end up being. That's just the starter. That's just to start the connection going a little bit. And then from there, they're going to answer the question. And then as they answer the question, you can listen for the signposts on what to ask about next. And so it's crazy. Like, if you want to feel part of the action, that's fine. You totally can do that. If you want to not, that's fine too. I mean, there are so many times I've been a wallflower and just kind of hung back and not really said much. And, the cool thing, any ill feelings about you that way. They're just like, well, it's just quiet, no big deal. As long as you're there, like you were talking about, you were nodding and helping out, I'm sure everybody was thinking, oh, Akil, he's helpful. He's here. He's just quiet, no big deal. But at the same time, if I want to join in the conversation, if I want to actually be a part of the action that's going on, I've realized over the years that the thing that I need to do is ask questions, is to be interested in what's going on with other people rather than being interested in telling them about what's going on with me. Because that's what I used to be like. I used to be like, okay, I've got all this stuff going on in my life. I need to tell everybody about it because, whatever, because that's what's interesting me. Of course, it's the same thing that interests everybody else, themselves. We're all kind of the same. So if we give someone an opportunity to talk about themselves, then immediately we have a connection. Immediately we can have a conversation. Now, sometimes people aren't willing to join in. That happens too. So it's not a surefire thing. It's not always going to work. But a lot of times that's the thing that really, really helps you feel part of what's going on. Is to find somebody there, ask them some questions about themselves, listen, and draw out whatever it is they're talking about and just let them talk, because they will feel great about that time spent with you because they got to talk about themselves. And so those are some things to think about as you navigate this. But I'm going to turn over to Ryan and see what he has to say.
Sure. I really like
point up.
Yeah. Doesn't matter. I'm all around you because I'm really big.
You are all around.
Yeah. It's just how, we all have our own sizes, and clearly mine is large enough to be all around you. So anyways, I like how you started this, Joe, because you pointed in the direction of taking the focus away from yourself and putting it on somebody else. And I think a lot of times that's what it is. If I was to sum it up, a lot of times when we are feeling disconnected from a group of people, it's because we're not engaged in something that takes our mind off of ourselves. If you sit down and you start to play a game with some friends, your mind, and you're comfortable with them, like you've done it many times before, your mind is fully invested into the game, whatever kind of game it is. Maybe it's Monopoly, maybe it's a game of cards, right? It doesn't matter, right? You're playing a game with a group of friends. You've done this many times. You feel completely in your element. Your focus is entirely on just having fun. You're making funny jokes and stuff like that. You feel connected with them. But then you get into an environment with people you aren't around normally. Suddenly your mind flips over and turns things back onto yourself. Like, how am I performing? Who it makes you unable to fully engage because your mind is holding you back. You're kind of starting to put up walls. You're trying to worry about how you seem. Like you said, you had some words with your grandma, not very many, but you had a few before leaving, and you don't feel like you were truthfully expressing yourself with her. You felt a little fake, right? And it's that thing where it's like, instead of fully giving all of ourselves away, like just opening up and giving all that we are thinking about and like the truer version of ourselves and our thoughts, we hold back, right? And it does feel a little fake. And then we feel a little bit what's the word? Feel a little, thank you, self-conscious about ourselves, right? We start to do that. And I think that's really, it just happens naturally when we're in environments that we're not used to, right? It can even happen in environments we are used to, but usually happens in environments where we're not entirely used to, or we haven't been around them a whole lot lately, or it's a special occasion and we're not sure, like, oh, it's a special occasion. How am I supposed to be on special occasions? I don't remember what this is like. Whenever we're out of our element, whenever we're doing something that's a little outside of our comfort zone, we start to recoil back in on ourselves and judge ourselves and think about, okay, is this the right action? Is this the wrong action? We start to overthink ourselves. So I really like what Joe gave for advice, because it's like you're forcing the conversation on somebody else. You're forcing your mind to pay attention to them as opposed to getting all caught up in yourself. And it's funny because when you make the conversation about them, you don't really have to worry about what they think of you because it's about them anyways, right?
Mhm.
In fact, it's beautiful because when you do that for someone, they instantly think that you're amazing,
Mhm.
right? It's just the way it is. Like if someone listens to me, if someone asks me about something, right? That's a personal question that I'm into, like, hey, how's your music going and whatever like that, right? I'm not super big on that kind of question. Like it's a boring question for me. But it does make my mind go, wow, this person clearly values me, right? They're thinking that, that's a part of my life and they're asking about it and they want to know more. So it makes me think good about that person. So even if it's not a question that really takes well with you, it still makes them think good about you, even though that's not the point of asking them, right? But what's beautiful ultimately is Joe's approach is basically take take your mind off yourself and put it on somebody else. Take your mind off of yourself so you can engage in something. Preoccupy your mind, not to, you know, there are things in life where you just want to get away. There's escapes, right? You preoccupy your mind to like ward off some forms of depression and things like that. And it can be bad because you're only delaying the inevitable pain that's to come, right? And in fact, it could be worse when it finally catches up to you. But this is a different kind of preoccupying. This is a engaging in preoccupation, right? You are engaging with the person. You are engaging with something outside of yourself, so you can feel like you're a part of it, right? So next time, like Joe said, next time when this happens, I would go back and listen to what Joe said again. Just just do your best to engage by engaging others, because then that allows your mind to again get off of yourself and get more attached to somebody else so that you can be engaged into the scenario.
Mhm.
Um, and then, yeah, and that goes right along with the whole kind of like feeling fake. Um, like we do, like I do that too. Like, when I feel like I haven't been completely open about something, right? It will feel like, well, I wasn't being very true to myself. I wasn't being very honest. I felt like I should have said more. I held back and I'm not happy about that. I really wish I said more. Um, and so in those cases, you know what I do? I call them on the phone. I send them a text, whatever. I email them something, right? I just come out straightforward, like I overbearing maybe, but I just come out and I'm say, hey, like I realized when I talked to you last, I felt like I was, I don't know why, I just didn't feel in my element. So I really wanted to say these things to you, and so here you're like, you blah 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 blah. What? I just wanted to tell you these things. You're an amazing person, and I kind of held back for some reason. I don't know why, but I really wanted to say these things, and I didn't get a chance. And you could even just leave it at that, like, hey, I didn't get a chance to tell you this, but blah 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 blah. Right? Then you get to say it, right? And then they get to they get to relate to you on a deeper level, and you do them too. So that's what I would do in that circumstance. If you can, call your grandma up on the phone and just say, hey, I didn't get a chance to tell you this, but blah, 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 whatever you wanted to say, even if it's awkward, right? Because that's going to make you feel like you, you done good on the issue, right? You fixed what was wrong. That helps me a ton. I do that a lot, actually. And there's many different relationships that I have with a lot of different people. And from time to time, I'm just like, oh, I got to go back to that person and kind of just dump, you know, have have an emotional dump to some degree, like not like complaining or anything, just like, hey, these are the things I wanted to say and I didn't say them. So it happens. But yeah, that would be my recommendation there. It's up to you, of course. You can hold it off till a later moment, whatever. But yeah, one of the things that you said I think is really great. You said my purpose, if you want to call it that, is to have a quiet life, gather people in a joyful community. That's why I'm interested in BSS. The chaotic times we are on require a clear mind to tackle. Something I'm very much lacking now. Yeah, clarity of mind, especially like everything that's going on, right? Um, it can be difficult when other people around you are stressing out, when the whole world is stressing out. it makes it easy for us to just follow that suit. So what do we do, right? And I think, Akil, you're already doing a lot of things to keep your clarity of mind. But I guess, what are you tuning into? Who are you dealing with? I mean, obviously you have your surroundings and that's what it's going to be. Like, you don't have any choice. But, if you're picking up the newspaper or watching the news and stuff like that, it can cause your mind to be filled with all this extra stuff that will linger and just give uncertainty, unclarity, and be very difficult because it sits there and it lingers and it rotates over and over and over in the back of your mind. So one of the best things you can do is have a blackout. Now, people used to actually, people still do this today. They do something called a blackout vacation, which is really cool. Now, that might be the exact terminology for it, but it's blackout vacation. Basically, after they work, so many days in a year, they go on vacation, but they realize if they take their phones with them, they're still connected. Their mind is still freaking out and stressing out over their work. Mm-hmm. So they leave their phones. Like, they bring their phones, but they have them literally off until they need an emergency call.
Right.
They don't bring their laptop. They leave their laptop away. They don't have any connection to the internet. If they have a connection to the internet, it's nothing to do with work, right? So that's what a blackout vacation is. Sometimes you need that. Like, sometimes we need to just go on hiatus from things so that our brains can take everything that's been jumbled up and crazy inside, start to go through it, sift it, weed it out, get rid of pretty much all of it, and then come to a clear state of mind where just like, yeah, okay, I am finally able to relax because I don't have all of this stuff that's stuck in my brain. My brain is able to get rid of it like over the course of, and a lot of times like they go a blackout vacation for like 2 weeks, sometimes like 4 weeks, which is crazy, but it happens, right? Sometimes you need a really long one to get all of that dumped out. Mm-hmm. And then it's kind of like when you go through, I don't know, like an antitoxin, when you go through a process of eating foods that will wipe all the toxins out of your body. At first, it feels really uncomfortable. It's really difficult. But then when you get through the end of it, you're like, wow, like I've got a lot more energy. My body feels like it's working like it's supposed to. And it just processes everything else even better. And I think that we need to do that for our brains sometimes. Mm-hmm. So maybe, now I'm not saying disconnect yourself from the internet. Obviously, you've got community here, and that's really good. But to disconnect from other parts of life that are that might be weighing you down, like the news and things like that, because that stuff, it just piles up and up and up and up and up and up, and it will never stop piling up. It's the news. And obviously one of your greatest purposes or one of your greatest goals in life is to be a part of that, to be a part of the information giving system, right? We are too, here at Black Second Sword, we create information and we send it out. We try to do that with this show, right? We are trying to specifically pull positive stuff or spin positive stuff on this show within negative stuff. So we see the negative world out there and we're trying to shift it over, right? So we can see the other side of it, which is positive, or see the way through it so that we have clarity of mind, or so we can clear the way for a better life. So certain things, we might just want to have a blackout vacation from negative kind of news that isn't designed to share light in the world. It's designed to catch your attention and make you feel stressed out, right? So that you tune in because you're like, oh no, I'm worried. Now I have to watch, right? And that's the way the world runs in that category, because it feeds off of the human's fear. Yeah, it feeds off human fear to make you tune in to find out, oh no, what happens? It's kind of interesting. But anyways, I've talked for quite a while, and I'm going to give it back over to Joe. So you got anything you'd like to add?
Boy, yeah, that was quick. You're like, and to Joe.
Oh, sorry. Let me do it faster.
That's
for you.
fine.
That wasn't...
Yes, good. Please.
Okay. All right. I don't remember what I said, but it was something like, All right, I think I talked a bit too long, so I'm gonna give it over to Joe. Okay, there you go.
There, perfect. That's what I
yeah.
was looking for. No,
Right.
good. No,
First try.
I see if
Wasn't even good. Totally mumbled over my own words.
first try.
First try.
Yeah. So Keel says, I kind of broke down and did that. I basically crashed most of the day. I never knew I needed that much sleep. And sometimes, yeah, you're absolutely right. That is the case. I am known for my long periods of sleep that I get.
Yeah, no, you're not.
Well, because I'm known for not sleeping much at night usually. Every once in a while, every week or two, right? I sleep for a long time. Like I'll have a day where I don't have to work, I don't have to do inspections or whatever, and I don't have anything really urgent, and so I'll just I'll get up, I'll do double cup of Joe, and don't tell Joe this, but then I go back to bed. And, and then I lay down and I sleep for a few hours, and then I get up and I'm like, oh my gosh, half the day is gone. I gotta do something now. Nope, go back to sleep. I'll get up in 15 minutes. Okay, yeah. And then 15 minutes goes by. I'll get up
in 15 hours.
I can do another 20. I can do a 20. That's my thing. I like the 20s. Those are my friends. But anyway, one of the things, so Ryan was talking about having a vacation or a blackout vacation where you just detach from all these things, these information streams and the things that are stressing you out and everything. And that absolutely can be such a welcome reprieve from everything that's going on. I mean, sometimes we need that, just like what Ryan was saying. One of the things also, like as you're navigating these waters and you're going through this challenge here, this specific, one of the things I've noticed is one of the things that helps is to raise your confidence level. Okay. Now, how do you do that? Because sometimes it takes, sometimes people are just lost. I know for me, I was totally lost. How do I become a confident person? Like I was totally not a confident person at all. And I'm like, how do I build that in myself? And it was the weirdest thing because I'd look at confident people and I'm like, how the heck are they so confident? I don't understand that. How can they even do these things that they do? Because it's so far outside of my comfort zone and it's so far out of my realm of possibility. Like I have no idea how anybody could do this kind of stuff. And all they're doing is they're acting with confidence. They're talking to people. They're, getting along. They're doing things. When they walk into a room, you can tell that, they're confident. It's everything exudes in the way they walk, the way they stand, everything. Right. So like, how do I build that in myself? Because I had no clue whatsoever. Right. And so I started trying some different stuff and I found out a lot of things I was trying to do led to fake confidence. Like I'd start having these little mantras in my head, like I am who I am. I do what I want. And if you don't like it, that's your fault. And I'd, say that in my head, I'd be like, okay, and then I'm going to feel confident. No, what that did was that just made me kind of be arrogant, which arrogance is just masking a lack of confidence, really. And so, but it's like, how do you build that truly in yourself? And what I've found for me, now this might be the same for you, it might not be, but for me, structure plays a great deal in confidence for myself. Structure and routine, structure in things I'm doing, structure, like basically discipline. Self-discipline, not discipline from outside. That just is painful, right? But self-discipline can give you, it gives me the most confidence out of everything. When I say I'm going to do this and I do it. Now, if I say I'm going to do something and I don't do it, that can be demoralizing and cause a lack of confidence. So what I found in myself, what I had to do is I had to start with very, very small things that I said, okay, I'm going to do this today. and it was easy for me to accomplish. So then what happened was I had a victory. I had a win. I did what I said I was going to do. Great. Then I can step it up from there and I'd be like, okay, so tomorrow I'm going to do this. And then when I do it, I feel good. I'm like, hey, this is a good thing, you know? And now it's to the point where my friend is my to-do list and my exercise routine. Like those two things have built in me so much more confidence than I thought was even possible. And I still don't feel like I'm all that confident all the time. Like even like I go around crowds and stuff like that, I still feel really weird and like I don't want to talk to them. But at least I'm not scared to be in those environments anymore. Right? And I'm not scared. Like I can go up and I can smile and I can talk to someone and shake their hand. I just usually prefer not to. And especially now, you know, where we're not supposed to shake hands with people and nobody can see if we're smiling or not because we're all wearing masks and, you know, like
They smile with the eyes, so you can tell.
That's true. You can. You really can. You just got to look them in the eye then. And sometimes that's a scary
hard
thing.
for people. Yeah.
It is. Yep.
That's a good point.
Yeah. But so at any rate, you know, it wouldn't be a Joe advice if there wasn't exercise involved. So exercise, right? And then have some things to do. And then list them out and do them. And I'm telling you, today I had no inspections today. I had a black static and swerve day, and I had a list, like way long list of things to do. And I did not get them all done, but I got a good bundle of them done. And I was like, hey, that's a lot of stuff. Now I could look at it two ways. I could look at it like, oh man, I didn't get all the stuff I wanted to get done. I didn't get it all done. Or I could be like, look at all the stuff I did. And some of the stuff I wasn't even expecting to do today, and I still got it done. And I was like, that's awesome. And so doing that makes me feel like I've accomplished something, makes me feel like I've had a victory. I also exercised, and that makes me feel that helps so much in getting blood pumping and oxygen to your brain and everything. And you feel good, and you're like, hey, I'm actually doing something. And when I understood how important discipline was to confidence, I started to realize, you know what? There's no other way to live but a disciplined life. If you want to feel good about yourself, if you want to feel confident in any situation, if you want to be detached from all the garbage that's going on in the world, if you can focus on self-discipline, everything else kind of melts away and you're just like, here I am. I'm getting things done. I'm going to make a difference in this world somehow. I'm not sure how yet, but I'm working on it. And when you have a track record of things that you've done, it's awesome. So I'd also encourage anybody listening, get a calendar that you can just mark an X on each day, and then pick some kind of a task, some kind of a routine, something. And every time you do that, you put an X on that day. I do that with the 3-step routine that Joe and I do on Double Cup of Joe. I have a calendar specifically for the 3-step routine where I put an X in the box every time I do that. And then as those X's start to stack up, that builds your confidence. Because you're like, look, I'm actually doing something worthwhile and I'm doing it consistently. That's amazing. It absolutely will change your life. So I don't know. I hope that makes some sense. Akil says I can be confident surprisingly when I do presentations. Hey, that's a big deal. I love my family, so it was baffling for me not to gesture my hand into their soul. Okay. Well, maybe you were just having an off day.
Yeah.
Happens to all of us.
Mm-hmm.
I've had a bundle of them.
Yeah.
And it happens. So what you do in those moments, you're like, okay, it was just an off day. I'll just pick myself up, try again next time, It'll be okay.
Yeah, what I usually do when I realize I'm having an off day, right? And I've talked about this before, but now, Akil, of course, you're of a different faith, so it'll be a little bit different for you. But usually when I'm in a situation where I'm just like having an off day and I'm realizing, I'm like, what the heck is going on, right? I kind of take a moment to myself. I could go to the bathroom or whatever and say a quick prayer. Usually for me, it's like I've said it many times. I just say, "Come, Holy Spirit, come," or rather, and by that I mean basically open my heart to your will, shape me as you will, so that I can perform with my attitude in check, right? So it's basically help me to be holy, help me on top, help me to be the right person right now, helping me to not be so caught up in myself, um, and things like that. I think if you can take some time if you ever encounter this experience again, and you're like, this is weird. Why do I feel this way? Why am I not engaged? What's going on? Yeah, I think one of the best things you can do is to just find a moment to yourself. Even if it's like you're really actually just with them, with your everybody else, but you tune them out for a second, just to say a prayer, and make that prayer about helping your attitude, helping you to have the right perspective, and things like that. It goes far away. It goes a really long way. So that's my go-to. It always helps me a lot. Because then it takes the focus off me and it takes the focus on what I'm supposed to be. It's like, I'm instead of worrying about what I look like, I just start acting like I'm supposed to. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it takes the pressure off too, because you're just like, this isn't all about me and my abilities. I'm giving this up. This is like, I'm just going to do what I feel is the right thing, what I'm led to do.
Right.
And then
and
then
and then it allows you to invest your time in other people, smile more and things like that, and not worry so much. So I don't know. It helps me a ton. So I know I've given that advice many times. But if you're ever in that scenario again, try it out.
Yep. Could make a world of difference.
Yep. So I think that's all we've got for this this topic. Luckily and beautifully, this is awesome. We've got more topics.
What?
But they're unexpected. We've got one from some guy named Fro. And one from some gal named, I don't know how to say this, Princess? Prinkus? Probably Prinkus. Or maybe it's Princess. So now this person named Fro, I have to assume, is here.
I would assume Frodato.
Yeah, Frodato. It is. There it is. I am Fro. Sweet. Yeah, sweet. We got one. Awesome. Thank you for putting one in here for us. We really appreciate it. And we really appreciate you for opening up, because it's not easy. I don't know if is this your first one, Frodato? You've only made 2 posts before, it seems. So I'm thinking this might be your first one, or maybe your second. But yeah, it's really great to have you here. So yeah, you know what? Why don't we just dive right into it? Let's go for it. So this one is titled Name Change. Name Change. And Princess is going to beautifully read it for us all.
I'm really bad at telling my problems to people and communicating, but I'll try for once. Also, you guys are great. So about 2 years ago, I found out about hating being male and decided to change myself and make myself better. It started off well, and my parents are supportive and helping me. But talking to them about myself and about how I feel is hard, really hard. The big stuff like medical and legal stuff is easier for me because I can just point them in a direction and they go and look, and I tell them what I want and they see what they can do. But it's the small personal stuff that I can't do. It's so hard to talk about my wants. I want to change my name. I already have one selected, but I just can't bring myself to talk to them and tell them. I'm a very non confrontational person to begin with, but that combined with the absolute dread I get when talking to anyone about what I want makes it basically impossible for me to do it. Me asking for one piece of clothing nearly sent me into a breakdown before. I don't know how to go on and do this. I always plan telling them many things, but I just keep pushing it off because I'm scared, even though I know that there's nothing to be scared about and they will support me.
Mm.
From Frodata.
Mm.
Thank you, Frodato. You know, this is so relatable. I
Mhm.
chuckled in the middle of it because I'm just like, that's me. I'm sorry, I was not laughing at you by any means.
Mhm.
I'm totally the same way when it comes to like, you know, of course, being non-confrontational, but especially like even just little things, talking about like asking for clothes, or you know, what um, usually actually, especially things that I would like for myself. Um, I don't have very many things I want for myself, but even just talking about them is a little bit weird for me, a little bit awkward, and to a point where it's just like I just ignore it. I don't bring it up, you know. Um, so I totally relate on that subject of just um of kind of just like talking about my wants, right? Like you said, personal stuff that you can't do. It's so hard to talk about my wants, you said. Um, yeah, the small things sometimes are harder than the big things, right? It's interesting, the way that goes. Joe, do you ever have that experience yourself?
Yeah, all the time, actually. It's pretty wild. Like, and sometimes, like exactly like you're talking about in here, Fro. The small stuff is sometimes the hardest stuff. Like the ones that we think are the big deals and stuff like that. Like we can stomach those and we can handle them and we can, look at those and be like, okay, I can face that. But the little tiny simple things, for some reason, there's like this big barrier, right? Like, I don't know. I don't necessarily know why. Cause because sometimes I think the small stuff is the stuff that's the most impactful. We know this. You've heard there's all kinds of quotes out there that say it's the little things that make the biggest difference. It's the little detail, or something along those lines, where it's like, when you do something meaningful for someone, it's just, it doesn't have to be something big and extravagant. It's not buying somebody a new car, but it's like making a card for them, right? Like, so it's not necessarily something, the big thing, it's the little thing that hits closest to home. And so sometimes I think that that's the case. Like sometimes when we think, all right, I can approach these big things because they're going to be grand, you know, but they're not going to strike as close to the heart as these little things. And I don't know why, and I'm not necessarily sure what in our head defines a big thing versus a little thing. you know I don't know, because it's different for everybody, and it's different for me depending on what day it is, it seems like, too. you know but always the small things are the things that tie me up the most. Sending an email, which seems like just a little insignificant thing, can be a monumentous, if that's a word. Is that a word?
Monumental, maybe?
Yeah, something like that.
Monumentous, or something like that. I think that's sure. We'll go with it. It's a word now.
Big.
You've used it, and people know what you're talking about.
It can feel huge, just these little tiny simple things. And so I can totally relate to you, Fro. And man, here's the thing though. Here's the thing that I've noticed, regardless of the situation, regardless of it's your situation or anything where it's just a simple little thing that seems to be super hard to overcome. And that is, when you do it, you realize how easy it was. You already are saying here at the end, I always plan telling them many of the things, but just keep pushing it off because I'm scared. Even though I know there's nothing to be scared about and they will support me. So like the final outcome, but still you get bound up inside. I know. So, I mean, man, the only thing I can say to do in these types of situations is a lot of times logic can be our enemy. But in this case, logic is our friend. Because we can take a look at this situation and easily say, well, what's the worst that's going to happen? If you've been on this show as a lurker before, you've probably heard me say this at some point in time. But when I am faced with something big or small and I'm having trouble overcoming it, I'll start to ask myself some questions. And the first one is always, what's the worst thing that could possibly happen in this situation? What's the worst thing? Because then you start thinking, okay, what actually is the worst thing? And a lot of times it takes me a few steps to get to the actual worst thing. I think, well, this is the worst thing that could happen. It's like, no, actually, that's not the worst. This is the worst thing that could happen. And then I think about that for a minute and I'm like, actually, no, there's something worse. And, that ends up being the worst thing. So when I get to that point where I finally decided, all right, this is the worst thing that could possibly happen, then I say, all right, what would I do if that actually happened? Good question. Because now you're setting your mind in the direction of, I'm preparing myself for the absolute worst possible scenario here. And when you're prepared for that, it gives you confidence to handle any other array of anything that comes your way. If you already have a plan for the worst possible outcome, then adjusting up is easy. What's more difficult is when we don't prepare and something unexpected happens. And then we're backpedaling as fast as we can, to try and figure out, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? But if we're prepared for that, everything else is a piece of cake. It's like when I do inspections, when I do property inspections out there and people come out and yell at me, it's crazy. I've been doing this job for 8 years, right? And I've seen just about everything possible from people. Irate homeowners. I've been threatened with baseball bats, with, sharp objects, people tell me they're getting their guns. I've had the cops called on me. They've chased me down. I mean, I had somebody chase me down like 15 miles, like practically run me off the road, and then, yelling at me and everything. And finally I pulled off and they're like, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, exactly. Right.
Right.
And they're like yelling and screaming and swearing and all this kind of stuff and blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden I just looked at them. And I was like, why did you chase me? You don't have any idea who I am or if I'm armed or not. Like, you don't know anything about me. What would make you think it was a good idea to chase me? Why didn't you just call the police? They're like, well, fine, then that's what I'll do. I'm like, please do. Yeah, get my license plate number. Call the police, please. Like, they know what I'm doing, right? But so I know exactly what to do if the worst possible scenario happens. I know how to handle it. But still, when I'm driving up to a house and I see somebody sitting outside their house, I drive past it. And I don't go in because I sit there and I think, oh no, something inside, they're gonna know I'm there. And then I'm like, and I try and think in my head, okay, how can I avoid this one till later? Can I go around and do some more in this area and then come back? Can I do this on another day? I start playing this game in my head, and then finally it's like, what are you thinking? Like, you know how to handle yourself in all these situations. Just go back there and tell them what you're doing. Like, it's that simple, you know? So finally I go back there and I tell them what I'm doing. And it's usually just fine, right? Just like what you're saying here. There's nothing to be scared about. You know they're going to support you. It's going to be just fine. But we still have the moments. I still have the moments where I have to drive past and think about it and try and weasel myself out of it. I try and talk myself out of it. And then finally, eventually, I'm just like, wait a second. Wait. I know what's probably going to happen. And even if something really horrible happens, I know exactly how to handle it. I've been there before. I know exactly what I'm going to do. And then logically, then using the power of logic in that situation, I can overcome my emotional response and go back and do the thing that I need to do. And I hope, you know, at some point in time, Fro, you know, I just, my thoughts and my prayers are with you through this whole thing. Because it sounds like, I mean, just from the beginning, you said, so about 2 years ago, I found out I hated being male and decided to change myself and make myself better. I hope that the fulfillment you're looking for, you can find. I really do. I hope that however you need to find it, that you can find fulfillment. And my thoughts and my prayers and my heart goes out to you, because yeah, when there's something that we don't like about ourselves, we're unfulfilled about, and I know that's a very deeply painful experience, deeply painful. And so my heart goes out to you, and I pray for your fulfillment. I really do. I hope that you can find it. So anyway, with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ryan, because he's a wise man and wonderful and loving and caring and amazing. And he has long, beautiful, flowing hair. And he loves you, as the shower curtain says. And yeah.
Thank you for all that, Joe.
He's got new headphones.
Oh yeah. Do you have anything more? I've got this water bottle. It's empty. That's a good feature about me. Got these owls, and these other headphones that are old and a little bit worn out from being here. That's a good feature about me.
And behind him, there's a Kodo.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Joe. I love you, man. So yeah. It's interesting. I've totally been in the same exact scenario as Joe was talking about, like actually literally the same, because I used to work that job. Where you just like, you see people outside and you're like, oh no. All right, I'll just drive past. I'll come back to it later. No, that doesn't fit in the route. And usually at that point I was like, yeah, but if I just did not do this, the other people would be like, why didn't you do that? Like, I put it on your route for you. Like, why? Oh, there were people outside. Were you scaredy cat? No, okay, I'll go do it. And then it always ends up okay, because I know how to handle people. Just walk up and be like, hey, how's it going? Just here for the mortgage company. Supposed to take some pictures of your house. You don't want me to? I won't, but I'm supposed to. And they're like, okay, that's fine. Go ahead. Or they're like, yeah, let me get inside first. Or they're like, yeah, nah, you can not worry about that. And I'm like, all right, I still have to take pictures of the street, so don't worry about this one and this one and the street sign. So there you go, buddy. Have a good day. You know, if you're open about it, it goes easy. But so this kind of like ties into this. It's interesting how we can get so caught up over the little things, but not the big things. And I think this is the reason why. I might not be right, but I think, you know, after I kind of examine myself and examine, like, why does that happen? I think it's this. When we ask somebody for something that's big, they can go, okay, that's a big deal. That's important because it's big, right? So easy. They're not asking for something that's entirely selfish. They're asking for something that makes a big difference, right? Even if it is about yourself, it's not. It doesn't feel like it's just, you know, petty. And then on the other hand, when we got something small, we're looking at it and we're like, I want this thing. And it's just this small little thing. And because it's small, they can see, okay, logically, why would you want that? That's clearly an emotional buy. But that's clearly something that you just want, and it's little, and you're going to inconvenience me to try to like get that for you, and it's so small. It's more effort for me to get that to you than that thing's worth. Sometimes we feel that way, right? And so when we finally give it out, it can make us like almost break down because we're just like, I've wanted this for a really long time, and it's just this small little thing, but it means a lot to me, and it has, you know, I don't want to ask too much of you. And it's really not asking that much, but it's just not like a big deal. But at the same time, I've turned this little thing into a big deal in my head, right? And in my heart. And now this little thing is a bigger deal than maybe it should be. But that causes us to kind of recognize that. And then we start to, one way or another, just kind of break down, right? Mm-hmm. It's interesting. It's very interesting. So I think when we look at something and we can recognize, okay, I'm making it a bigger deal than it's supposed to be, and so that's why you're not saying it. Or it's the other hand where it's like, yeah, but it's so small and I don't want them to look down on me because I'm just asking for this petty little thing and it just inconveniences everybody else. That can be the other side of it, right? So one way or another, we end up with this feeling. So what do we do when we get there? I think if it's one side where it's like, okay, I've inflamed it. I've flammated. What's the word? I don't know. I have made it way bigger of a deal than it's supposed to be.
Mm-hmm. Inflamed is a big one.
Okay. Inflated. That's the word I'm looking for. Inflated. I've inflated the value of this beyond what it actually is, and then that causes me that causes a imbalance in our minds, and we recognize it, and it doesn't settle well within us. Right. And so it causes us to fear sharing it because we know that it's small, but we've made it a big deal. Right. If it's that, right. If that's the reason you feel like you just can't share it, you start to break down and that sort of thing. I think when it comes to that, maybe the best thing to do is kind of come to terms with that and go, okay, let's tone it down. Let's in our heart and in our mind look at it from the actual value that it actually has, right? It's coming from the right perspective and go, okay, it's not that big of a deal. And then what you have to do right after that is tell somebody. Why? Because if you tell your mind that something's not a big deal, but then you don't do anything about it, your mind doesn't believe you because your mind reads your actions and your mind follows them. If you take action right after saying like, hey, it's not actually a big deal, I've kind of inflamed it. There's no reason, or inflated there's no reason to get all caught up into it. And then you take action, your brain then goes, okay, that's secure. That's a valid point now. Like that is definitely true because I just took action towards it. If I'm still acting fearful and not sharing it, or even if I'm not fearful anymore, I just don't share it, my brain doesn't believe it because I didn't take action. So a lot of times when we take action, it's to prove to our brain. That happens a lot of times with anxiety. When we get anxious about something, if we just take action, our brain will start to follow suit and be like, oh, there was no reason to be anxious about this. I'm okay. Like everything's fine. All I had to do was start working on it or start taking action or start talking to this person or whatever it is. And I realize everything's okay. And so then my brain follows suit. My brain believes in myself because I started already taking action. So, so that's what I would suggest on this end, right? Of you've over inflated the actual value of it. And you've made it way too intense and personal, right? So that's what I do on that end. On this end, where we are not sharing it, I forgot why, because we feel petty, like we feel pitiful, right? we feel like it's something that will weigh down on everybody else, and it's a personal thing. It's really, really close to the heart, but it's something that we know it causes problems for other people, because it inconveniences other people, right? Like it will be like other people have to start calling me this new name. I don't want other people to get all confused and riled up, and it's kind of just for me because that doesn't affect anybody except for now everybody has to adapt to this new name, right? So it could be that side of things, right? So if it is, right, what do we do about that end? And I think it again, along the same lines that Joe was saying earlier, if we can just put it out there, it's really the same solution. If we can kind of use logic to go, I know these people will be on board with me, right? All I have to do is ask. What's the worst that could happen? This sort of thing. All right, I can solve that, right? And if I can solve that, I can solve anything that's less than that. So now what do? I take action, right? So either way, right? I think it's important to identify which side it is, right? To understand, okay, is this because I'm worried about how it'll affect other people? I'm worried about it being too much to ask for, or is it because I'm worried that, or is it because I've inflated it? I've made it bigger than it actually is, and my mind and heart are kind of in conflict with what's going on, and I've realized that it's not that big of a deal, and I'm exploding it way beyond like what it should be. If that's the case, I think it's important to identify that, just for your own personal understanding of yourself, right? So that you can move forward with yourself, understanding yourself, right? We have a relationship with ourselves, right? We are a human being. And just as we have a relationship with other human beings, we have a relationship with ourselves. And it's important to treat ourselves well, right? It's important to, be nice to ourselves, right? It's important to lift ourselves up. It is important to engage in the things that are valuable to us, right? It is important to spend time with ourselves, right? All of this is important. If we don't like ourselves, that's okay. But if we don't like ourselves, why? We get the opportunity with ourselves that we don't get really with a lot of other people, is to actually talk things out completely with ourselves and admit our faults completely, and then go, okay, I understand that now. Let's go. Let's fix that. Let's move forward with that, right? Let's become a better person, right? So if we don't like ourselves, we have the opportunity to change that, and that's beautiful, right? But if we have a relationship with ourselves, it's important to manage that. And the better we understand ourselves, the better the relationship is going to be, period. The better Joe understands the way his wife works, right? Because Joe is in a relationship with his wife. The better he understands her and why she does what she does, the reasoning behind her actions, the more he starts to realize, okay, she wasn't trying to be mean to me. She wasn't trying to attack me. That's just how she comes off. That's her natural reaction. And there's nothing wrong with that. I have to make sure I don't take it the wrong way, right? That kind of stuff happens in our relationships with our friends, and it happens to ourselves. So we have to make sure we understand why we think the way we think, and why we do the things we do, why we feel the way we feel. And so really, ultimately, Fro, the whole reason I went through all of this is to give you examples of possibly what's going through your mind, so that you can hopefully come to understand yourself more, right? So that your ability to have a good relationship with yourself is increased. That way, you can start to feel a little bit more comfortable in your skin. You can start to feel comfortable with yourself, right? Regardless of the whole, changing your gender, that sort of thing. Just, it is important for everybody to do that. Especially for me, right? For everybody. So hopefully, if you can come to understand yourself more, you can come to these situations where it's like, oh no, this is a small thing I'm getting all worked up about, right? But now I know why I'm doing that. And now I can start to use logic to get out of it. I can start to calm my emotions with emotional control. I can go, oh, I understand why I'm doing this because I've done this before. And so now I can work my way out of it. rather than getting stuck and close off and never coming out with whatever you wanted to share, or holding yourself back on many different things, right? So yeah, Fro, let me know if that helps. I really hope it does. But yeah, I'm gonna give it back over to Joe. Joe, do you have anything else you wanted to say?
Well, yeah, there's one thing that Fro said in the chat. Said, I'm guessing it is just that. I'm scared of bothering with what I think is something that they will think is trivial. So not wanting to bother somebody with something that they're going to think, oh, like, why are you even talking to me about this? Like, have you ever had that experience where it's like, you bring something up and inside you, it's like this really big deal, but somebody else is just like, really? Like, that's totally not even a big deal, and I guess it's probably, that can be an intimidating thing because now what's happened is you've created this big thing in your mind, and then somebody just kind of dismisses it.
So it's like the fear of rejection.
In a way, yeah. Even though the support is going to be there and the acceptance is going to be there and everything.
Oh, you're saying like even if they're gonna, yeah, okay, got it.
But it's just like, like, why would you even bother bringing this to me? Like, this is a waste of time or something. Or we don't want to waste somebody else's time with something that seems trivial, right? But and it's interesting though, Ryan brought up my wife, and it depends on what all is going on. There's in our lives, there's a lot of stuff going on. Usually we've got 2 kids and all kinds of activities and stuff like that. It's crazy. But plus, we're working and it's just nuts. But at any rate, like, so I will not tell her about stuff because I feel like it's just not even a big deal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, whatever, like, but then later something comes out and it's not like I did anything that was hurtful to her. There was nothing like immoral going on or wrong going on or anything like that, but she just would rather know what's going on, right? So she should be like, well, why didn't you tell me about that? We're like, I don't know, I guess I didn't think it was all that important. I didn't want to bother with you with it, but in a way it's, she feels a little bit like she's left out of the loop, I guess, right? And so sometimes, especially with people who care about you deeply, like your parents do, Fro, one of the best things you can do is keep them in the loop. No matter how small of a thing it is, and you can just think of it just like that, I'm just keeping them in the loop. I'm not necessarily asking permission. I'm not necessarily, seeking approval, anything like that. All I'm doing is I'm keeping them in the loop. And then from there, you can be like, okay, now it's not that big a deal. Now I don't have to build it up in my head as this big, huge deal anymore. I don't have to think in terms of, I'm wasting their time, because all I'm doing is I'm keeping them in the loop. And that's okay. Now, in the case of my wife, there are many times when I don't tell her something because I never had a chance to. Like, the time to make a decision came and went, and we had so many other things going on that she was telling me about and we were dealing with, and I just didn't even have time to let her know about it. It was like, this had to happen. We had to make a decision. It's not going to change the world or anything, but it had to get taken care of immediately. I'm sorry, but there was a lot of other stuff going on that you were telling me about that was more important. And so I just never had a chance to tell you because there was stuff going on. Plus, she's classic. One of the things that's amazing is she'll, we'll be talking on the phone and she'll call, I'll be out working or something, and she'll call and she'll be like, blah, 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 this and that, a bunch of stuff going on, da, 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 right? It should be just like a machine gun, just firing off all this stuff going on. And then all of a sudden, one of the kids acts up. She's like, I gotta go, bye, boom. Like, and then later on, like, I had something to do, I had something going on and I didn't tell her about it, and she finds out the next day or whatever. Why didn't you tell me about that? Seriously? When was I going to tell you? All I got was I gotta go, bye.
I was waiting for you to finish, so but then you finished.
It was finished, and then it was done, and then I had no chance to tell you. I'm sorry, but at the same time, you know, like she likes to be kept in the loop. And I'm sure that's going to be the same with your parents. Even if it seems like it's a trivial thing, even if it's something that may seem like they're just going to dismiss it, they're just going to be like, whatever, no big deal, whatever, right? To keep them in the loop, it just enhances your connection with them. And that's a really important thing, especially going through a situation like this. This is powerful. You're dealing with some powerful stuff in this situation. And, you know, to feel connected to others is going to be very, very important throughout this experience. And so the more you can foster that by keeping them in the loop, the more you can, you know, rely on their love and their acceptance, and just the fact that, you know, they love you and you're their child. And I mean, man, I can only think, you know, like if my kid came to me with an important situation, an issue, you know, I would want to make sure above all that they knew that I loved them no matter what. No matter what.
Yeah, and you'd want them to keep you in the loop about everything, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I want to know what's going on in their lives, of course. Even the small things. Of course. And, you know, because I do. I love my sons. I love them. They mean the world to me. I love them when they punch me and kick me in Taekwondo. I love them when they're freaking out and having a mental breakdown or whatever, you know, like some kind I guess they don't really have mental breakdowns yet because, you know, my oldest one's 11 and my youngest one's 8. But they're, you know, my oldest, he's getting to the point where he's asking some pretty sophisticated questions. And it's like, okay, you know, we're going into a new realm here. And I mean, he's a really smart kid. And I love both of them so dearly. It's like, yeah, I want to be kept in the loop. I want them to know above all that I love them, and there's nothing they can do that's going to separate my love for them, no matter what. They could, you know, mess up, commit some kind of terrible crime, whatever. I'd still visit them all the time in prison, whatever. I'd be, hey, you did it. You got to pay whatever consequence you got to deal with, but it does not change the fact that I love you. And same goes here, Fro. I hope that you feel accepted here. I hope that you feel loved, because we want to make sure, we want to provide an environment like that where no matter where you're at, above all, we love you. And you're safe. This is a safe place for you to be who you are. And we just want to help guide in any way we can. And if there's no guidance that we possibly can give, then what we want to do is make sure that you feel secure in the fact that you are loved by people in this world. There are people that, even though we've never met you, we love you.
Yep, absolutely.
So that's what I got. Ryan, you got anything?
Nope. I think that's about all we have. We really appreciate you, Furtado, for posting this, you know, situation, and for opening up to us. You know, it's so cool to hear everybody's, you know, personal lives, and as much as we can, because you are real people out there, right? Just like us. And it's so cool to interact, to be a part of other people's lives, and to have the chance to love on you. You know what I mean? To share this moment and everything. So it's really cool. Furtado, thank you so much. He said you are all amazing and help so much. Thank you for being able to talk to. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. That's exactly what we're trying to do.
Yeah. Yeah, we wish you the very best in your way through everything you got going on. So yep. All right. Well, so we definitely got time for another one. I'm going to go through the list in case anybody else showed up, but I'm going to guess that Princess, or however you pronounce that name, comes next. Sorry, it's definitely Princess. Sumner Kagan, John Doe, Man Left Behind, Eric Bodine, Caffrey, Mark Anthony, Sparrow, and Princess. Now, of course, if there aren't any, we could always go back to Akil. But uh, I think that would be good to do princesses. Shakes my head. You tease. Oh, you want me to tease, huh? Oh,
Oh boy.
oh man. Oh man. We won't do that. So, whenever everyone's ready, Princess, I just want to make sure you're ready. Yeah. Okay. Cool. You're starting to post links. Perfect. So this one, of course, is from Princess, our chat room hostess. It is titled "Love Language in Distress."
Mm.
Go for it.
Hi, everyone. I hope you are all well. Something that you may or may not know about me is how I feel loved. I can appreciate love in many forms, but I know that I have two in particular that mean the world to me, that my world just can't quite be complete without: quality time and physical touch. Don't get me wrong, I understand the situation we're in. Maybe more than the average person. I'm aware of the potential consequences that could happen. But the situation doesn't change the fact that I dearly miss physical touch.
Mm.
Quality time was pretty difficult to come by too for a while, since I and everyone around me that I know is really busy. It honestly saddened me when things were canceled, but I also understand it's okay, and life pops up. However, physical touch, though, is pretty much an off limits practice of self control right now. And knowing me, I've done a pretty good job at abiding by that. Yet, more recently, I'm finding that my mind is starting to wander into fantasizing. Wishes of seeing friends or even just strangers and being able to be near them. Imagining someone hugging me, holding someone's hand, petting fluffy, comfortable animals from sensory memory. I'm craving being in the presence of others, especially of God, and just being in their presence. I don't know if it's right or wrong. I know that this isn't something that you guys necessarily deal with, and I know that there's not really a solution. There's only so much snuggling with my plushies can do for me. But perhaps you'll have some insight. Thanks for listening. Much love, Princess.
You sound just like the person who posted this.
You
Beautiful,
do.
beautiful voice.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Princess, for sharing this with us. Obviously, we love you. It's great to have you on the show with us, and it's great that you get to read it because you get to read it with the expression and emotion that you put into it. So, it's really interesting. Just as a side note, I know that so you have your love language, right? One thing that is really interesting. So this happens with personality and also love language. When a person is unable to obtain satisfaction due to their own personality and their personality's requirements. So, for example, if you are a person who requires, so let's say you're a sanguine, and so you love people, you want to be around them, right? And then you also like things to be excited. You have this outgoing personality about you, right? You want things to be fun, and you want them to be fun with other people. So here's an interesting thing. If a person goes so long of a prolonged period of time without that, where they just cannot have fun in their life, they ultimately usually start kind of tending towards depression. They start to feel this down, What's interesting, though, is that the mind eventually makes up for it in the most peculiar way. So after you start going down and down and down and down and down, right? Your brain goes, okay, well, that personality isn't working out for us. And it starts to, as you hit the bottom of that hill, it starts to pick back up, and you start to have fun. You start to have a ton of fun in your life, just like tons of it, doing things that are not fun, things that were not a part of your personality. You start to become task-oriented, reserved, like the opposite end of the spectrum. And you have this personality shift where it's like, suddenly, after years have gone by of not being able to express your personality the way you wanted to, you've shifted and you've become an entirely different person. Not person, but personality type. And that also happens with love language. believe it or not, if there's a prolonged period, now obviously this prolonged period is not that long. We are dealing with months here, not years and years, but someone's love tank, if it remains empty for so long, their personality can actually, or their love tank can actually switch to something that is a little bit more befitting to their environment. So if people talk a lot around them, they'll start to pick up on that instead. Or if people are, giving gifts and stuff like that, they'll start to appreciate that more instead. It's really fascinating the way the human mind can atone or fix for those sort of scenarios, where we start to be more capable of experiencing those. But as you said in your post, I'm not a person of physical touch that much. But I am someone who's had prolonged experiences without any words of affection of any sort. And that is my love language, and also quality time. Quality time is probably my second one. And I've had prolonged periods without that. And how to deal with that will be what we're talking about. So I'm going to give it over to Joe to see what he's got to say.
Yeah. Mine's pretty much words of affirmation. That's pretty much my only primary. Like, I try to think of how I feel loved. And of course, I mean, hugs are wonderful.
Oh yeah.
It's wonderful to feel close to someone. Quality time is wonderful too. I mean, all of these are wonderful things. Receiving gifts, I mean, what are the five? You've got words of affirmation, physical touch, quality time, gifts, and acts of service, right?
Yes.
So all of those make us feel loved to some degree, but there's one in there that just takes the cake for all of us. It's very interesting too, because if you receive love, like for me, for instance, words of affirmation, right? So words, when I hear words of encouragement, words like I actually, honestly, I think the most effective ones are, man, you're smart enough to do this. You're good enough to do this. So something just that simple. I mean, people say you're awesome, you're great, way to go. And that's good too. But the affirmation of you're good enough to do this, like that just drives so deep into my soul. And I just melt, right?
I think Kyle's really good at that one.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But it was so interesting because like Ryan was describing, I've spent years of my life starved of that. Absolutely starved. And it's hard to go for a long time and not receive any words of affirmation, to just be completely, all you want is, somebody to notice something that you're doing good and say something about it. And it's like, come on, and absolutely starved. Now I have great friends around me. I have Ryan. We speak the same love language, right? The words language. So that's great. And your brother Kyle, is the same way. He's very good at that too. And so we all kind of speak that same language, and we know, and we all love each other, So it's like, hey, that's how we express it. That's how we receive it. It's a great situation. My wife's physical touch, and I think gifts,
I thought so,
are kind of like her two big ones. And Princess, I know, like you just said, physical touch and quality time are yours. Now you can get quality time on streams like this, on our, when you get together with someone on a screen. It's not the same, I know, but it's kind of what we got, and things are being lifted a little bit more. So the quality time is going to be more and more prevalent. But man, you are right. Physical touch, it might be a while before that's more commonplace again right now. And you're absolutely right. All I know, I mean, I love what Ryan was saying, because sometimes when you're starved of something, you just find other ways of getting it, right? Because the point isn't the physical touch. The point is the feeling of love, right? And so, can you learn to speak another love language? That's the real thing in the book that they were talking about. When they talked about the 5 love languages, the whole point wasn't necessarily for you to discover yours and be like, okay, now I
Now I
know
know how
mine.
people need to treat me.
Exactly, right? Yeah. The point of the book was to teach you how to speak other ones. And so then you start to learn how to interact in those other love languages, right? And so and then you start to be able to experience love. Not only are you start to be able to give love in those other ways, but you start to be able to experience it too. Now for me, physical touch is like the lowest one on the list. I love social distancing because everybody's giving me my personal space, right? I love it. Like I go to get my car repaired, and everybody's like standing way far away from each other. And it's this tiny little shop. And so like once enough people got there, people just went outside. They're like, I'm out of here. I'm outside. I'm like waiting in line. We're trying to stay away from each other. But but I can talk to people and I can encourage them. And that's how I speak love into somebody's life, right? So, but I've had to learn with my wife. I've had to learn to not only express love towards her in her love language, but also to receive love from her in her love language, which isn't as easy, but definitely possible. And so I would definitely, Princess, I don't know if you've, when the last time you read the 5 love languages was, but if you have a copy hanging around, wouldn't hurt to, read through it and start reading through some of those other love languages. Start reading through how some of them are expressed. Because here's another thing that opens up our hearts to feeling more love in our hearts is when we give love. And Princess, you are great at giving love to other people.
Absolutely
you are
true.
so great at opening your heart and sharing love with others. Anyone who's ever been in a direct message with Princess ever knows this, because it's amazing. Like, you feel so loved when you're around Princess. And the more you do that in all the various different love languages and treat it as an act of service to people, where it's like, hey, I'm going to love you. I'm going to share my love for you. Every time you give love to another person, the love within you grows. It's not that way with money. Every time I give money to somebody else, my bank account gets smaller. Anytime I give somebody some food, there's less food in my fridge. But every time I give love to someone, the love inside me gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And it's beautiful. It's an amazing thing. So, Princess, thank you so much for this topic. I love it. It's all about love, and I love it. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ryan.
Yeah. Great response, Joe. Yeah, it's an interesting thing. I mean, especially because of the times we're in. I remember being in a position where, I wasn't really receiving any words of affirmation to any degree, or really quality time with anybody. And in fact, there are times when I would literally rather distance myself completely from everybody, just spend time with myself and experience no love from anybody. Other than, of course, the Heavenly Father. It was, it is interesting because to experience that love is a beautiful thing. But we have to remember that experiencing that love from the others around us is a gift.
Mm.
And it comes from them, it comes from their heart. But we are not required to have that from other people, right? I think when I was young, I came to realize that as much as it is nice to be loved, it is also something that I desire. And if it's something I desire that is not food, oxygen, etc., right? It is a completely mental desire. I can still function without it, right? My capacity to function without it is entirely based on my tolerance and my over fascination. If I can go to a position where it's like, okay, how much others are spending on me to make me feel loved, right? And sometimes it's like being able to hug somebody, right? To give them that love is where we feel most loved, right? So this is a situation, kind of like what you're talking about, Princess, and what Joe was talking about. When you give love, you feel loved, right? And so when you got no one around you to love on in that form, you're missing that feeling, right? But for me, I'm a very reserved person. So I do everything in my head. And I look at something like, okay, this is an emotion, so therefore it's not logic. It's an emotion, so therefore it's not necessarily reality. I can decide whether I want to take this action or that action. It's something I truly feel, but it is something that I can possibly live without, right? All things bar minimum, I can live off of food and water and air, right? Temperature and pressure and things like that matter for my survival. But that's my survival. Now let's talk about my emotional state. My emotional state is that being determined by what I'm able to do. If it is, then what can I do, right? And once I've done everything I can do, if I'm not satisfied, then the problem isn't that God put me in the wrong place. The problem is me, right? Does that make sense? That's how I look at things. If I'm unable to satisfy myself, then that's my fault. It's not God's fault. Because otherwise, if I go, I'm being put in this position where I can't effectively feel love because I can't give it to anybody, whatever, which is a good, hard thing to do, right? It's a beautiful thing to do. Just as Joe said, you're absolutely one of the most loving people I've ever met, right? But if that's the case for me and it doesn't satisfy me, if I'm unsatisfied, it's not that God made this situation on purpose for me so that I couldn't feel satisfied. Rather, there's possibility for satisfaction in spite of the current situation. Does that make sense? So all I have to do is try to figure out, how do I come to peace with the current situation? Not necessarily how do I change the situation. I used to have a saying, if I hate something, I can either change it, or I can either change what I hate, right? Or I can change what I hate. Meaning I can change the thing that I hate and just change the way that works so that it works for me. And then I don't hate it anymore. Or I can change in my head the things that I hate so I don't hate those things anymore, right? And that's kind of one of my go-tos when it comes to something that I am dissatisfied with. So in this current situation, right? It's fair to say you hate it, right? It's fair to say I dislike the current situation, right? I cannot express my love the way that I normally do. And it's unnerving. It gets on you. You feel like your love tank is empty, and that's a normal response. It's the appropriate response, right? You're not able to express your love. And so therefore we as humans were designed for that, right? We are created by love, and we were designed to love. And when we can't do that, right, we feel inadequate. We feel empty. We feel like there's something missing, right? So it's a normal and perfectly good response that you're having. But if it's a situation where it's like, it's starting to make me feel depressed, right? Then I know that at that time, I have to kind of change my mentality about it so that it doesn't wear me down, right? So we can't change the current situation, right? It is what it is. There's that social distancing and it just is there, right? So instead, what we can do is change the way we feel about it. He said, it's not even empty because I know how to fill my love tank and to see the world around me and to find love from within it. Perfect. Good. Awesome. So yeah, if it's something that starts to make you feel depressed, I don't think it's gotten to that point yet, right? But if it starts to make you feel depressed, then at that point, it's like, okay, I need to change the way that this affects my life. If it's affecting me that intensely, then I'm putting too much emphasis on it. And I need to figure out how to hold that back. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll just talk to myself about it. I'll explain it to myself. One of the things I would do is I would go, okay, so am I asking for this feeling because I want a feeling? Well, that's not necessarily wrong, but it's not necessarily necessary or holy or what I was created for. I wasn't created for this. Like, sure, I was created to have this feeling. I was created with this feeling in mind for me, right? I was created to have this feeling, but that feeling alone isn't what I was created for. So I can kind of run with that and go, okay, I don't need it, right? I can still be holy. I can still go on with my life without that. So I'm going to not worry about that anymore and focus on other things. It's kind of how I go through those scenarios, right? Now, I'm not saying that's the best way to go through them. I'm just saying what I did, right, when I was experiencing those downtimes. And like I said before, sometimes I personally, specifically on purpose, recoil away from all of that feeling. I purposefully go, okay, I just want to be on my own. I don't want anybody to love on me. I don't want to be loving on other people right now, right? Not because I'm depressed, not because I'm upset at myself or just want to get away from the world, but mostly just because it helps me energize. It helps me to feel the emotion better later.
Mm-hmm.
It helps me to kind of just relax and put all the things in their proper place, proper judgment, and that sort of thing. And then also during those times, it allows me to connect more with God, right? Which is the creator of that feeling, the creator of love. So it helps me to just sometimes just get away from it all and allow myself to feel, to just feel that lacking for a while, come to terms with it, and then no longer feel that lacking. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense to you, Princess. Like when you feel like there's a lacking, sometimes it's important to just deal with it until it feels like there is nothing there. There is no lacking. I am complete. I am complete without it. It is extra. And I don't need it because I already have it. I've been created, right? I already have it from the Father. Any more is extra and it's beautiful, right? It's a good thing. But I cannot complain if I've already got it. Cannot complain for more. Okay, not really. If I'm running from love, it's because of my pride not wanting to accept it. And I won't complain. I know better. Fair enough. I wasn't saying you're complaining by any means. Yeah, but you just miss it. Right. So what do you do if you miss it? Basically what I'm saying is you've got two options. If you miss it, then you can either A, figure out how to stop yourself from missing it. Because if it starts to overwhelm you, right, and you start to get depressed because you miss it, that would be unfortunate, right? So if you miss it, you can either go, okay, I miss it, and that's fine. You can go, I miss it. Let me change the way that I'm thinking about it so that I don't have to miss it anymore. Or C, let's just break the rules and not miss it anymore because I'm going to do this thing, right? We don't want to go with number 3. Number 1, totally fine. Totally fine to just miss it and deal with it and be like, yeah, I missed that feeling and I'm just going to have that feeling. But number 2 is what I would go for because that's personally me. If I'm feeling this situation and I don't like it, if I don't like a feeling, I work my way through it so that I don't have to feel that feeling of not liking something. right? So that I can just go, okay, I don't like this. Let's come to terms with it. Let's take a moment aside, figure it out in my head, and go, okay, no, it's fine. I don't miss it anymore. Cool. Let's continue our lives. Out of mind, right? Just I'm not worried about it anymore. That's how I do it. That doesn't necessarily mean that's how you need to do it. Like I said, it's up to you. You can totally just miss it and deal with that. But yeah, I don't know. Joe, do you have anything else you want to add to that?
Yeah, well, you make a really good point because one of the ways that I've learned to deal with something, we always talk about forgiveness is the way to healing, and sometimes there's, we can't always have an object or a person or something to forgive. Sometimes it has to be just a way that the world is, that we're just frustrated with, and we have to forgive that. And then we have to forgive ourselves for feeling like, why, I feel like I'm such a baby because I'm upset about something, and sometimes we have to forgive ourselves for feeling that way. But that's okay. I love that, Princess, you were saying, I won't complain, I know better, but I just miss it. I completely understand. I completely understand what that's like to miss a feeling. And one of the ways that I had to deal with, similar types of situations here where it's like, okay, I was so starved for love and affection. I was so starved for it, that I just kind of eventually came to grips with, okay, I'm not getting it in this way. I'm not going to get love in this route. Okay. When you come to grips with that and you accept it, it's like, okay, this is not going to happen. So then it's like, all right, if it does happen, it's a bonus. It's great. But like Ryan was saying, you learn to be content without it. As Ryan was saying, like for me to just crave a feeling for myself, you learn that ends up being unquenchable, because if you get a lot of it and you get a lot of it, all you want is more and more and more, and it goes beyond just a love thing, and it becomes a lust for something. It's like I want to have this so bad, right? And it becomes a fixation. So sometimes being separated from that thing we desire the most, it can be one of the best things from us, because maybe deep down inside, now I'm not saying this is the case for you, Princess. I'm definitely not, because I know you are a very, very loving person, and you seem to have a lot of stuff together when it comes to this aspect of your life, which is love here, right? So I'm not saying this is the thing. I'm just talking about, for me, in a lot of these situations, I have a fairly addictive personality where I can start going down this road and I like something and I'm like, okay, I want more of it. Then I want more of it. And then I want more of it. And I just keep going down this path. And then it's like all of a sudden I'm in this trap, like where I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not getting this anymore. Now it's frustrating because I'm not getting the thing that I had in abundance before, and I became, attached to it. So then sometimes the best cure for that is to detach from it, so that I can understand what fulfillment is like without it. And because I know you're a religious person, I can say some of these things, which is like, okay, ultimate fulfillment is me with God, because God is fulfillment. God created me. He knows exactly what it takes to fulfill me. Like he is the act of existence itself. He is the act of fulfillment itself. He is love itself. All of these things, right? He is the definition of that. And so what more fulfillment can I get than being connected to my creator? And sometimes, like even today, like I will take some time and meditate. I did this today. Take some time in meditative prayer where I pray a prayer similar to Ryan's, where he's like, "Come, Holy Spirit," and I say like, I want to be connected to the creator of the universe. And so I'll just sit there and be like, okay, I'm connected to the creator of the universe. And then I try to focus on listening. I try to focus on not saying something in my mind, not because most of the time when I pray, I'm just talking and I'm not listening. But then when I get into meditative prayer, now I'm starting to shut myself up and dismiss my thoughts and empty my mind. And I'll ask, help me know what the right thing to do is here, please. And then I'll shut up and I'll try and empty my mind the best I can. And then sometimes it takes a while. Sometimes it doesn't even happen, but I make myself available in receive mode to receive whatever he wants to tell me or express to me or help me to feel or whatever it is, right? And sometimes it comes in like a flood. Sometimes it's empty. Sometimes it's dried up. Sometimes it's like huge. Sometimes it's just one little phrase that pops up in my mind. And it's like, oh my gosh, why didn't I think of that before? It's so obvious, right? But those moments help so much. So when you are detached from something that you miss like this, when you're detached from something that gives you a good feeling or a good emotion, something that helps you along your path and your life journey, when you are detached from it involuntarily, it's the best time to seek out that meditative state and empty yourself of all of it. Just be empty. Just dismiss your feelings, dismiss your emotions, dismiss your thoughts, and get back to just square one in your center. Connect with the creator of the universe and let him speak to you. Let him love you the way that he knows is going to be the most fulfilling to you. So I know that got a little religious there. So anybody who's offended by that, I apologize. But meditation, whether it's religious or not, is a very, very, very effective tool. The act of emptying your mind and emptying your emotions and emptying yourself of all of it and sitting in silence. It's like rebooting your system. It's like turning it off and on again, right? Like in IT world. And it's so effective. So effective.
Absolutely. I could not recommend that more. I agree entirely. Thank you also, Joe, for kind of taking what I said and putting into words that made more sense, and expounding upon it in all the right ways. Princess says, for me, my feelings filter into sorrow from frustration or anger. In this case, it seems that it might just be a matter of patience and just focusing on what I have been given and not what I want. I think that's can really be the truth there. Another way that I would look at this is this way. You're in a situation where if you have some sort of, like whenever you feel sad, right? Whenever something happens and you just feel sad or you feel frustrated, right? Our natural instinct is to go do something we like, right? When we're kids, we scrape our knee or we, something bad happens, right? We go to mommy and we hug her, right? We go to daddy and we hug him, right? We hold tightly to them. When we're scared, we go and we hold tightly to mom and daddy, right? That's natural. That's human. That's even animalistic. It's normal, right? And it's an appropriate response. But what I would see is this is a challenge. So that whenever you experience something, instead of your go-to reaction being to hug something and to feel loved, can I solve it without that? Can I fix my scenario and feel good about it without having to go off and have that emotional love? Right? Does that make sense? I hope it does. Because for me, that would be the challenge. It's like I'm recognizing that my go-to whenever I'm having a bad day is to go do this. Let's see, now that that's taken away from me, let's take this moment to become good at getting over things without having to go to that, right? If it's kind of like if it's a responsive thing, right? Because obviously, of course, you miss it. Of course you do. Everyone would. I mean, even I miss physical touch at times, right? To some degree. Definitely not the same intensity as you. Yeah, you're too cool. Too cool for it. Yeah. So, like, if you ever feel like it's something, it's like your go-to whenever you're sad or whatever, is to go and hug something. It could be this could be an opportunity to be this could be an opportunity given to you. Like, hey, here's an opportunity. We want you, like God's like looking at you and like, hey, check this out. It's gonna be like a little painful. It's gonna be a little annoying because I'm taking this away from you. But now's your opportunity to grow as a human being so that you can become more on top of your emotions, be more strong in this area of life rather than having to go to something to make you feel happy. You can not go to something and you can just feel happy regardless of it, right? And I think that this could be that sort of thing. It's kind of like there's a reason for everything, right? We talk about that. Otherwise science literally doesn't work, doesn't exist. And so it's true. Science says so. I'm just kidding. No, it's reality says so. Science uses it. So in that case, it's the same here. You can make good of this, right? You can make good of this scenario. Yeah, it stinks that you're like, and by no means would I say stop having this as part of your love language. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful part of you, right? And it's a good thing that you reach out and you hug other people. Other people feel loved by it. Even if it's not their love language, they do walk away from it going, okay, that person made me feel good. They like me and I like that they like me. And so I like that. That's literally how people's minds work when you give them physical interaction, right? It's just a pat on the back or whatever. So it's a beautiful thing, right? So by no means are we ever saying like give up on it. But ultimately, you can take this and look at it as a challenge for yourself and saying, these are the scenarios. Can I get myself to overcome the desire so that I can be stronger in all the other areas of my life, right? So I won't have to rely on something physical to help me emotionally inside. I'll have to rely on something physical to help me mentally. Instead, hopefully I can use this scenario to stop relying on that and help myself mentally to help me mentally. That way I don't have to wait for something to hug before I can feel better, right? If you feel like you are the type of person that does tend towards that type of action whenever you are sad or whenever you are mad or whatever, you just feel like I have to go hug something right now. If you're that kind of person, some people like to punch pillows. That's the opposite what if you do. You hug pillows. So good on you. But yeah, hopefully between Joe and I, some of that was helpful. Obviously, this isn't an issue we can entirely solve. It's just what you're dealing with, and all we can do is try to help based on our experiences. And we haven't experienced that exactly, right? We just experienced our own versions of it and hope it helps. But yeah, we appreciate you sharing, Princess. You're a beautiful human being, and we are happy to have you here. And you do so much for us. I mean, the love that you spread on us. And I've talked to you before, like Joe was talking about reading the 5 love languages so you can better experience the other love languages. And I think that's a great advice. And that even I can be lacking in that. Like I've had conversations with you. It's like when I receive a gift, to me, it gives me some sense of sorrow, because I know that I cannot feel the love that they intended to give, because I know that this gift has meaning behind it, and I'm not feeling it. 0%. I respect them and I appreciate it, but I do not feel loved by it. And that makes me sad, because it's like, you wanted me to feel this way from this gift, and I don't feel that way. It's just saddening. So I think the best response to that is then to take action to love that person with my love language, or to love them in their love language. And hopefully that does start to fulfill that emptiness, that lacking on my side of things, right? Because they did everything they needed to, everything they were supposed to. It's my heart that lacks, right? My ability to feel that. So I guess in that scenario, right, the best thing I can do is to give from my heart, and hopefully that then allows me to feel the love that they intended me to feel. And the funny thing is, a lot of times when they're giving that gift, the idea of me feeling happy, feeling loved by it, makes them feel loved. So a lot of times it's really the giver that feels the most emotion. So in this, just as Joe was saying, I think to give that love, which you do so wonderfully and adequately and often, I think is the best response to missing that feeling. But yeah, anyways, that kind of wraps it up, right?
Yeah,
Anything
Princess,
else?
we love you so much. And all of you here in the chat, welcome to some of you new folks that just joined us. Welcome.
Yeah, nice to see you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's been a while since wow, I mean, it's been years since I've seen Takahashi. As soon as I saw the name, I was like, wait a minute, I recognize that name. I think this is a friend from a really long time ago. Glad to have you back. Nice to see you. But yeah, this is, unfortunately, you've caught us at the end of the stream, so we're about to close it down. We do this stream every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, so we will be back on Friday.
Yes.
Also, there's Double Cup of Joe every morning, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and not Saturday or Sunday. But you can always tune in for those. Now, if you got here on our Discord, you can see when those links come up, but otherwise they come up in Eastern Standard Time. You are not from there. You are from completely different parts of the world. Who knows? But regardless, 9 o'clock. So when we do these Don't Worry Wednesdays, 9 o'clock in Eastern Time. So if you are available, feel free to drop by, and we'd love to have you.
Yeah.
So until next
time. Double Cup of Joe happens at 7 o'clock in the morning, but next week it's changing.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, so not this week. Next week.
We're backing it up an hour.
Oh, really? Are you serious?
Yeah. It's gonna be 6 in the morning.
Joe's okay with that?
Somebody just fainted.
I'm okay with this. I'm usually up at that hour. Because I haven't gone to sleep yet. But is Joe really okay with this? That's crazy.
He's the one who announced it on Monday. He's on Monday he's like, hey, next week we're starting these at 6 o'clock. And I was like, what? I had the same response you did. I'm like, are you kidding me?
See,
what are you gonna do? He's like, I'm gonna get up an hour earlier. I'm like, okay, so you're gonna get up at 10 to 6. Okay, that's cool.
So I can expect you to do that. You are up at that time regularly, but that's crazy.
Yeah,
it's awesome. It's wonderful. It's so, yeah, I mean, it's been years, right? But this community is still alive. This community is still hanging around. This is amazing, and it's growing. So it is so cool to have all of you guys here. We love you all. We appreciate you all. We appreciate all the concerns and worries and stuff that you guys have shared with us today and since ever. But yeah, we hope to see you soon. I don't really have anything to follow that up with, but
yeah.
So
yeah, I hope to see you soon. Bang.
Yeah. Whoa.
Bang.
Whoa.
Two-sided.
All right. Well, see you guys later. Peace.
Love you guys.
Yeah.